I've recorded this like so many times because like it's hard to put this into words because I'm so speechless. But hey everyone, I just wanted to pop in here to talk about what's going on in the world right now. And I popped a pimple in my mouth, so that's why that's there. But I just wanted to say that if you have a platform, please speak out. I want to speak out here. If you have the money, donate to the George Floyd GoFundMe. I believe that they have also a petition to arrest all officers involved. I also believe that they have a GoFundMe for people who are getting arrested for protesting. So use your voice, use your platform, use your money. If you have money, use it, help people. Use your social media to promote these peaceful protests that are going on in different areas. And use your platform to spread, to show that you are with the Black people and that you are anti-racist, because now is not a time to be silent. And like Desmond Tutu, don't know if I pronounced that correctly, says, if you're silent during this time, you're siding with the side of the oppressor, and this is not a time to do that. As you have seen time and time again, and as you saw the other day, George Floyd was killed, and honestly, that video is heartbreaking, and I've honestly cried and been sad for the last couple of days, because as a member of the Black community, this, like I said, hits close to home, and it's also injustice and racist. And with all these events going on with Amy Cooper in the park in New York of basically her profiling a Black man, and coronavirus going on, I'm up to here with everything, and I'm just trying to come in here to educate you guys. Well, I haven't really educated you guys, but to explain to you guys how I feel about the situation, and also to encourage you guys to go out and use your voice if you have one, and do research. If you don't know what white privilege is, there's a guide on Instagram. Her name is Courtney Ann Designs, I believe, and she made a guide to white privilege. If you don't know what that is, use your platform and use your voice. Don't stay silent about this, because we need change now. So, especially if you want to go to law school, and a lot of people say, because I want change, I want to do this, I want to change things. Well, now's your time to do that, and this is the perfect time. So go about and do that change and be that change, and share positivity and promote educating people, because a lot of people are not educated on these factors. But that's basically what I'm gonna say. I could go on, and I could literally start crying because this is literally depressing. But enjoy the video. Don't want to make this too long, and hope you enjoy how to get into law school, and hope this helps you make a decision. It helped me, and I hope it helps you, and I hope everybody's staying safe, and remind yourself that you need to breathe. At the end of the day, you need to breathe. So take a deep breath, exhale out. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name's Bree. You should definitely subscribe down below. I post Wednesdays and Sundays. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to choose a law school. I know that it was a little stressful for myself when I had to choose law schools, especially when you are fortunate enough and you have tons of options for you. If you haven't watched my other videos and you're new to this channel, I've been accepted to, I believe, 8 schools, and so I had to choose out of the 8 schools which school I could attend. It was definitely a little bit difficult for me, because in the back of my head I was like, I really want to attend all of these schools because each school has its pros and cons, and as you see in the video, it can be difficult to choose the school. But at the end of the day, I chose a school which I think was best for me. It might not be the best school for you, and you might not agree with my decision, but this is what I believe is good for me and my goals and stuff like that. So I have 5 different things that you should definitely consider when you're choosing a law school. The first thing I have for you is the cost. So law school is extremely expensive. Yes, extremely expensive. GW, I believe, is 60. Let's Google that, because it's like 63,000 something, but I want to give you guys the number to the T, and that's literally tuition and stuff like that. And that's not the total cost of attendance, meaning that's minus transportation, food purchases, books prices, living in DC. But the tuition itself for GW law, I believe, is $63,205. Let me go to the GW website, and I'm going to go ahead and see how much it costs to go there, but
it's really expensive to go here, and it's a private school, so meaning that it costs more money to go there rather than a public institution, for example, like UF. It's significantly cheaper to attend that school, and it's a really good school also. So for JD, for the full time, it cost, tuition is $65,000, $420. $65,420 for the year, for 1 year of law school. To me, that's extremely expensive, but I don't set the prices. It's gonna cost me $93,940, about that price, to attend the school. The $93,000 includes books and supplies, personal, room and board, transportation, tuition and fees. So like I said, the tuition and fees is $65,420. The books and supplies is $1,960. Personal is $2,800. Room and board is $21,990. Yeah, it's really pricey to live in DC, but room and board includes, I believe, food to feed yourself. So they're not I think you can spend like $1,000 something per month on rent, and then the rest has to go to feeding yourself. And this cost of attendance is based on 10 months because law school is only 10 months. It runs from August to May for most schools. And you have to figure it out in terms to finding a place to live, if you want to do a 10-month or 12-month lease. But that's something maybe I'll touch upon later in the video. If not, I'll definitely make another video about finding a place to live wherever you go to law school. So you definitely have to consider the cost. I don't have $93,940 or $65,000. I'm not rich. It would be nice if I could have that money because I wouldn't have to go into debt, but the reality is, yes, I am going into debt for law school, but I believe that it's an investment in myself, and that's something that I'm willing to take on. I know that debt is something that's very hard to accept, or something that really sets a lot of people back in terms of, you know, going to a law school. Some people literally don't go to law school because they can't afford it, and I definitely understand that. So I was fortunate enough to basically get a 50% scholarship from GW, and I'm rolling with that scholarship, and maybe my family can help me a little bit more. And yeah, so I'm going into, pretty much, you guys can do the math, I'm going into a lot of debt for GW, but I'm willing to do this because of my goals and stuff like that, which I'll talk to you a little bit later. So you need to ask yourself if it's worth it to go to that school for the cost. For example, a lot of people, if you go on Reddit, you definitely should download Reddit. The thread is called Law School Admissions, and literally you can ask any questions you want related to law school. People will literally answer you. Somebody will say, like, for example, should they go to Cardozo Law, which is in New York, for a ride, or should they go to, what's the other, Fordham, for a 40% scholarship? It comes down to cost, right? So you're like, do I want to be in zero debt, or do I want to be in massive debt? Do I want to go to mid-tier school or lower tier school, or do I want to go to a higher tier school? So there's a lot of things that you have to consider, but the first thing that you need to consider is the cost. Is it worth going there for the cost? So when you consider the cost, there's other things to consider also. So the second thing that I have for you guys is, besides the cost of the school, is, I wrote it down in my notes, hold on one second, it's a location. So for example, I was using Cardozo and Fordham. They're both in New York, so that makes your decision a little bit more easier. But just for instance, for example, for me, let's talk about it in my terms. I was offered a scholarship at Boston College too, but it wasn't a 50% scholarship. It ended up being, I can't even do math, like 30%. So would I rather be in Boston, or would I rather be in GW? And at the end of the day, Boston College is cheaper than GW, so which school would be better? So now that you're seeing costs and you're like, well, technically Boston College is a little bit cheaper, but if you look at it with different factors, you're saying to yourself that GW is just a little bit more debt. I know I'm saying a little bit more debt, but debt is debt. So it literally depends on the person, but I'm going out too much on a tangent here. But you need to consider the location. So for example, for me, I had various locations to consider. I had Florida, I had New York, I had Boston, I had Florida, New York, Boston, and Washington DC. So I had 4 different locations to consider, and they're all on the East Coast. And if you know me, well, none of you know me, but a lot of people who knew me know I was so tied to BU. I was like, I want to go to BU. BU is my school. BU is where I belong. This is this is what my mind is telling me, but I didn't even get accepted to BU. I got waitlisted, but I also got accepted to Boston College, and I was like, if I don't go to BU, I'll go to Boston College. I have no problem. Like, both of those schools are literally amazing to me. So I got into Boston College, but then I also got into George Washington University, which I never ever thought in a million years I would get into. Like they say, never say never. I was literally appalled. But so I was considered between Boston and DC, so I had to weigh the pros and cons of Boston and DC. And then I also had to think about the cost, because that's the number one thing that I think about, the cost, and then I think about the location. So where do I want to be? Went and I sat down and I created a pros and cons list, and I told myself, I said to myself, why do you want to go to Boston? Like, I know, okay, I do have a family member there, but I've never been to Boston in my life. Why was I so tied to Boston? And I realized it's because of this fantasy life that these YouTubers have on YouTube, and I was like, wow, I kind of want that life. But I need to realize that I'm not them, and they might be thriving in Boston, but what if I go there and I don't like Boston? That was also my fear. I've been to Washington, DC before, so I know that I can thrive there because I really enjoyed it when I went. But I also should note that just because I visited doesn't mean that I can live there. Visiting somewhere is completely different from living there, but I definitely could see myself living in Washington, DC. And I'll tell you a little bit more why in a minute. So I was weighing the pros and the cons, and I was like, it's gonna be colder in Boston rather than in Washington, DC. And I was like, where do you see yourself, in Boston or Washington, DC? And I don't know, Washington, DC just made more sense for me, more sense for my plans. And yeah, so this is the third thing that I would encourage you to consider is the programs that the school offers. So a lot of people, I'm gonna stop saying a lot of people, some people go into law school with a specific plan in mind. Like, for example, for me, my plan has changed a million times, but when I was writing my personal statement, I said that I want to become an immigration attorney, and I need to do that now. So I looked at different schools when I was writing my personal statement, and I did the research, and I saw what their clinics were called, what the clinics involved, and stuff like that, and the different programs that they had revolving around that. And a lot of schools have immigration clinics, so all the schools I applied to had that. GW, it's just called, you know, the immigration clinic, and Boston College also has an immigration clinic, so I incorporated that in my essay. But I wrote about that program because I was interested in that program. I'm not going to go to a school where they don't have a program for something I'm interested in. That literally makes no sense, unless I guess maybe it's a very top tier school like Harvard or Yale. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to go and apply to a school and I know nothing about it or any programs when I'm set on something. If you're not set on something, that definitely makes sense because you get to explore. But I was set on immigration, so I looked for schools that had those. So you definitely want to take advantage of that. For example, GW has a really good intellectual property, I believe, program. So a lot of people apply for that because they're really interested in that, and like patent law and stuff like that. So you need to consider that. The fourth thing that I have for you guys is rigor. So I wouldn't say that Yale has the same rigor as FIU. But they're all, I like to say that all law schools are pretty much good law schools, although their percentages may not show that. For example, Barry University in Orlando, they have like a 50% bar passage rate, rather than Yale, they have like a super high bar passage rate. So you want to think about like what type of rigor are you looking for. Are you okay with going to a lower tier school like FIU, or do you want to go to a top tier school like Columbia, NYU, Yale, Harvard, stuff like that, you know, the T14 like people say, which is top 14 schools. But I definitely think that you should consider like the rigors of that. And the most important thing, the last thing that I want to talk about is your goals. So what are your goals after you finish? What are your goals after you finish law school? For example, for me, do I want to stay in DC? Where do I want to practice law? So I need to consider those things. And I need to consider networking during my 2L year and my 3L year. Now they're doing, if you're interested in big law, they're doing programs for 1L students. So you definitely should do the research for that. Or like for example, if you're watching DC, there's a lot of things where maybe you can intern or clerk for a judge or something like along those lines. But you definitely should Google it and reach out to your career services office because they're there to serve you. But yeah, you need to ask yourself, where do I see myself ending up? If you don't know, then it makes your decision a lot harder, but you definitely should make a list of pros and cons of the things I listed for you. You're trying to minimize as much debt as possible, and you're also trying to take advantage of opportunities that will never like come about again. So I told myself that GW, although I'll be in massive debt, there's nothing like being in the center of law. There's literally the White House like 3 blocks away from my school. There's the US Senate, Capitol, the US Capitol. There is the US Supreme Court, which is literally amazing walking in there. It literally inspired me so much to get my act together to go to law school. And I also encourage visiting the law school. So if you have the time and money, or go online, some schools have virtual tours. Northeastern did it, and I've seen it. It's a cute school. You can go ahead and see if you feel like you fit in the school. Don't go to a school because of prestige, but then end up hating it because you're wasting your money. So go to a school where you feel like you fit in. Go to a school where you think you're investing in yourself, but at the same time, you're not crippling yourself. For example, don't go to Yale to be an immigration attorney just to be like $300,000 in debt, but then you can't pay it back for a long time. I know there's a loan forgiveness program, but that's a little murky, and it's hard to be a part of it. So you need to look at what are your goals after. So like, for example, for myself, I'm interested in big law. I don't want to do big law for the rest of my life. I just want to use it as a stepping stone and something to allow me to grow, work collaboratively with others, and then also do pro bono work on the side. And then eventually it would be nice to make like a nonprofit organization, or maybe work in the White House. I would love to intern at the White House, but we'll see how that goes. I would love to intern for a senator or a House rep. And I definitely will be going to the Supreme Court for oral arguments, because I just love hearing, you know, the different justices and what they have to say and how Ginsburg, she always has her dissenting opinion, if anybody knows what that is. Okay, that's enough of the tangent. So these are the 5 things that you definitely have to consider: the cost of the school, the location of the school, your goals for the school, and the rigor. I told myself that DC has endless opportunities, and I don't have to sacrifice, I don't have to, like, for example, if I went to UF, I don't have to quit my internship after 2 months because I have to go back to Florida. I can technically keep my internship and get it for credit at GW because I'm in the center of law. And I felt like DC felt like a place where I can thrive, and it made me feel comfortable. And I haven't specifically visited GW, but I've taken a look and I've seen the law school environment, and it is very friendly, and everyone, it doesn't feel like it's very competitive. Of course, there's a sense of competitiveness because, you're competing against your peers in terms of your class rank and stuff like that, and your grades, but everybody's friendly and is there to help you out. And I really like that genuine kindness that was shown throughout, orientation and the Facebook groups, and how the 2Ls and 3Ls and 1Ls even are reaching out to 0Ls to help them acclimate to this forever changing environment and how things are with COVID. That's enough for my tangent. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it helps you if in the future you're considering how to choose a law school, or if you're trying to choose a law school right now. Take a look at your goals, and from there on, I think you made up your mind. So you got this. I believe in you guys, and thank you so much for my new subscribers. Hope you're enjoying this video, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Law school videos on Sundays and regular vlogs on Wednesdays.